thrilled to bits today to actually be hosting Sue Cleaver and Cath Tyldesley on stage for a little chat, and it's called Off the Cobbles, obviously. Now, Coronation Street has been a huge platform for both of you, and it's iconic, and we all love it. That must have been really, really therapeutic.
Do you know what?
I'd love to do that to a few people.
Oh, that day it was absolutely pouring. You can't really sit on that. It was drizzling, you know, like real Manchester drizzle. And it took about 4 hours. And at one point we were soaking wet. Gail was sat on top of me on the cobbles, and we looked at each other and went, what a ridiculous way to pay your mortgage. And that's all we could think of. We were just laughing, thinking, this is how we pay our mortgage. This is absurd.
Do you think that was a big turning point for you, the jungle?
Yeah.
And also, I'm sorry because I'm jumping here, I want you to share the story because it's totally fascinating.
Okay, so, yeah, this story I told in the jungle. I mean, I think when you're in the jungle, you really do forget that there are cameras on you, and you are just this group of people who are thrown together. You're starving hungry. You only ever see sort of like 15 minutes of condensed activity of us, but we're filling 24 hours. So you do forget that there are cameras there. No, but it came up. I told the story about how I was adopted. I always known I've been adopted. I have a very lovely family. You know, my mum's my mum. I've got a brother. And as far as from when I was little, I always knew. And then when I was at drama school in Manchester, the Royal Exchange Theatre were doing Oedipus with David Threlfall, and they wanted a couple of soldiers, like small little parts, to go in. So they chose me and Steve Coogan, who was in my year. So we go in and we walk in, and there's an actor there called Michael Harbour who says to David Threlfall, oh my Lord, she's the spit of my wife when she was that age. And to cut a very long story short, his wife was my mother. And that wasn't the only thing. I then found out I had 2 half-sisters who were in the business. My sister Kate is Wendy and Bob the Builder. She's in Shaun the Sheep. She's in, you know, she makes a career of making bar noises and different animals. And my other sister was also in the business as well. And then when I met my birth mother, Leslie, she introduced me to her best friend who also lived with them for a while. And her best friend's name was Helen. And Helen was the only person who knew that Leslie had had a child adopted. And that Helen was Helen Worth, who plays Gail. And Helen is godmother to my 2 half-sisters. So it's very freaky.
That is the most amazing story. It's a wonderful story, actually.
It is a wonderful story, and I've been very, very blessed because I've had a wonderful relationship with them all. Sadly, my birth mother has died, but when I told my mum, you know, who is my mum who brought me up, and I went to tell her, look, this has happened, and I was worried about how she was going to respond, and all she said to me was, she said, oh, I think about that woman every time it's your birthday. I wonder if she's okay. I wonder if we're doing right by her. And they got together, they came round, my mum put up a slideshow of me as a baby, they became friends, and then for many a year they would see each other separate from me. I mean, my mum and dad would go and stay with her, and so I've been very, very fortunate.
Now, Catherine, let's go back to those early days in Lounge 10 and just share with the audience, because it wasn't until 2011 that you got the call from ITV. But just very briefly, just share with the ladies how it all started.
So there was a restaurant in Manchester called Lounge 10. Does anybody remember Lounge 10? Beautiful. And I'm a jazz singer, and that's how I earned a living in between acting roles. And so I used to sing at Lounge 10 every Friday and Saturday night. And Anthony Cotton phoned me up one day, and he said, I'm bringing somebody to see you, Liz Taylor. She does the most amazing events, and hopefully she'll hire you to do some events. So she comes in, and I'm looking at this powerhouse of a woman, and I can see that she's assessing me. I'm very nervous. I do my set, I sit down. She went, well, you can sing, but your set's shit.
tell me how you deal with imposter syndrome, both of you. Cath, yours is constant. Yours is constant. How do you deal with it?
Mine is constant. She does get daily voice notes because I don't think I can do it. I think a little bit like Sue said before, the trying on the different coats, the different personalities, that's a big part of the reason I got into acting. And it's probably unhealthy, but I find it easier sometimes to be somebody else. You know, sitting on a stage as Cath can be quite scary. And so even when I was, doing the circuits as a singer, it wasn't Cath. I would put on this, I'd be like, okay, so you're a cabaret singer tonight. What's your name? What's your pretend name? I just found it easier to not be me. But the older that I'm getting, again, a bit like what Sue said, the more I'm learning that we are all individual and what makes you different is your superpower. And I'm trying to embrace that more. It's a journey. I'm very fortunate to have an amazing family and friends like yourself and a great support network. And I think we all need that in this life. It can be really difficult. But I'm also a big believer in fake it till you make it. Pretend you believe even on the days that you don't, and you will automatically see yourself lift up. I also do, big believer in positive affirmations, setting goals. That really helps to drive me.
Sue, what do you think is the biggest lesson that you've learnt in life?
Not to be seduced by my own thoughts.
It's interesting because mental health is so up there now, and it's recognised and it's supported and people get treated, and I think that it's existed for a long, long time and people have had to cope with it in very different ways. We've all had our challenges, and not that I want to plug my book in front of your book, because I'll plug your book more in a minute, but I actually did write a book in lockdown called Tailor Made, and it was my ex-husband who said to me many years ago, you should write a book, you've met so many people, had so many experiences, and I did, and you should read the chapter I wrote on him. That was fucking genius. Anyway, I said, I'll buy yours if you buy mine. Anyway, in the meantime, what do you like most about yourself, ladies? I mean, we are all sort of a bit in awe because you've been on the biggest show in the UK, whether it's to pay a mortgage or not. You're both very talented, very independent, and very focused people, both very different. What do you like most about yourself?
I think it's taken me a long, long time to like myself, and I'd say that I am now the happiest I've ever been in myself, and it's more about acceptance, and I don't take myself so seriously anymore. The thoughts I had, the hang-ups, I just go, oh, no, just stop it. We know where this is going.
Catherine, is there anything that you like about yourself?
No, I've got great boobs. No, I'm only joking.
She has actually. I've seen them.
Thanks, babe.
And they're her own. If you could have done something else with your life, is there anything else you would have chosen to do? Or are you happy with your choice?
I couldn't have done anything else. I had 26 other jobs before I became an actor, and I was terrible at everything. I think I'm safer doing what I'm doing.
No answer to that.
I was the same. I was shocking, and I couldn't stand anybody telling me what to do. So I remember when I was at drama school, I went to, can you remember Kelly Girl? What a name. Kelly Girl was like a temping agency.
Yes.
So I used to get these jobs, and I'd go into an architect's, and some bloke would say, get us a coffee, love. And I'd be like, because it was like, I'm not here to make coffee, I'm here to type. And I remember this one, the couple of places, the blokes being so obnoxious that all the filing, I purposely just put it all in the wrong places. Just like, I was shocking. No, the only thing I do, I think, if I wasn't doing this, because, as I have trained, is that I'd probably go into psychotherapy.
And if there was one role that you could choose to play on stage or screen, what would it be?
That's really... I always used to say Lady Macbeth, but I might be too old for that now. I'd love to play Goneril in King Lear. And I'd love to do more period dramas, because that's where I started. I think I'd like to go back to that because I loved it. I just love being in a bit of a history geek. So yeah.
And Sue?
I'd like to, because I was trained as a theatre actress and I hadn't been on stage for just over 25 years, and I went back this year doing Sister Act. Had such a good time. But I think what I'd really like to do, I'd really like to go and do some classical. So I'd really would like to maybe Royal Shakespeare Company, because I just haven't, I'd love to go back and do some classical theatre.
So you've both definitely still got ambitions.
Definitely.
Good, because that's what it's all about. That's what all our ladies are about. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Thank you. So a big shout out to Vixens, because they have been brilliant. Tough ladies.